Hello and welcome. Another edition of the Coach's Corner. Each and every Thursday, the Baseball Blue Book and myself bring you a discussion with a college coach or former professional or college player. And we discuss all topics related to youth baseball, high school baseball, and college baseball. Very excited to be joined today by a college coach. And when I say that, I mean it's very rare that we find in today's world, especially at the Division I level, NCAA, former JUCO coach, former NCAA Division II coach, and now in the Big South Conference, Division I NCAA coach at Gardner-Webb University, Jim Chester. Jim, thank you for joining us today.
No, thank you. I'm excited to be here and, really looking forward to our time together here.
Well, one of the things that is really our purpose here is to kind of educate, or we attempt to educate parents, student athletes with regard to colleges from all across the country, East Coast to West Coast. And, a lot of families are unfamiliar with these non-P5 conferences. And the Big South Conference has a lot of really great schools. And at the top of that list, in my opinion, would be probably Campbell and Gardner-Webb. And you've done a great job over the last few years kind of bringing Gardner-Webb baseball to light. Can you tell us what makes Gardner-Webb a unique opportunity for potential recruits, and what should parents know about the university?
Yeah, absolutely. Born and raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and spending a majority of my career in the Northeast. It's I think one of the best attractions we have is the weather. If you look at our roster, we do recruit the Northeast pretty heavily. We do recruit the cold climate, and I think it's we've got a hidden little gem in Western North Carolina here where we can attract maybe young men that are trying to get out of the climates that they're in. From that standpoint, intertwined with that, I think we have awesome facilities, and I hope we can maybe speak about that a little more in depth as we go on here. But I think it's a big piece to our institution and in our program to have that. And, we've got a great niche. Gardner-Webb has a very, very, very strong Christian culture along with our program. And, it's something that I know a lot of parents and players strive for. And it's, Gardner-Webb's a place where you can grow in your faith. And it's a special, special place. And you can feel that when you're on campus.
I think that's something I want to kind of discuss a little bit, because we've had Scotty Jackson on from Liberty, and a lot of parents are really seeking that type of culture for a variety of different reasons. But talk a little bit about the facilities and the amenities and the culture on the campus as far as becoming a student as well as a student athlete at Gardner-Webb.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll talk as a student. Again, if you're looking for a school with 50,000 students and it's a huge party scene and things like that, it's definitely not Boiling Springs, North Carolina. When we recruit our players, we explain to them, like, listen, you're going to get outstanding facilities. You're going to be spending a lot of time on the field. We're going to work really hard at this, and you're going to get an outstanding Christian education. And that's what's going to happen. And, you're here to get a degree and play baseball. Everything else is going to be kind of secondary in so many ways. But we're looking for those guys that I call them field rats. They just love playing the game, love being on the field and, trying to grow all the time. Again, we're not going to get the top 10 ranked kid in perfect game or whatever, those things work. We're looking for, maybe guys a hair undersized or just, it's got one tool or whatever it might be. We just, we want somebody that really wants to work and wants to play, and they'll develop. They'll fully develop. So it's definitely a piece. We have a beautiful campus. We've got very strong degrees in the fields that I feel a lot of baseball players get into. We have a very, very strong business program that allows our young men to also get a 10-month MBA. A lot of our guys are on track to finish their masters within their eligibility. So it allows us kind of a unique advantage to work that program and allow our guys to get 2 degrees during their time while being here. Along with sports management, we have an outstanding program, undergrad and graduate, where there's a similar path to getting your master's and going that route. So, a majority of our team are in those two majors. We have an outstanding exercise science program that's led by an alum, a baseball alum here on campus. And we have a few young men in that program. And right there, that probably makes up 95% of our team. They're going through and they're in those programs. And we're really lucky to have those on campus, and that they're strong academic programs, tying into our facilities. Just left campus here about 30 minutes ago before I got home, to jump on here with you. And we are within hours of opening a brand new indoor baseball facility.
Wow.
Yeah, I am. It has been 18 months of, trust me, I've learned a lot. I didn't realize, when you're a coach, right? You're a groundskeeper, you're a psychologist, you're a
Amen.
you're doing it all. And I've added project manager to my list too. So I've learned a lot about buildings and codes and permits, and I've been really hands-on with it. So it's been quite an experience, but a fruitful one. I mean, the turf is just getting finished laid in this new indoor facility that we have. Our weight room's going to be in there, player lounge, nutrition area, 4 cages with dividers where we can remove the dividers and have one big turf space to use for pitchers or infielders or anywhere. It's just a player development area where our young men are now going to have, an opportunity when we're not practicing to go and work more and get more in and develop more and get stronger and faster and refine their skills, which is, just an amazing piece to what we're doing. I'm really excited for this thing to fully open. It's been a process. So, I'm really excited for our alumni, our families, our friends, and our players. And it's just, players need to develop. It's just sometimes there's not enough time at practice to develop every guy. You got to work on your own too. And now we have a space where, they can reach those heights.
Let's talk a little bit about development. One of the exciting things at a program like Gardner-Webb, from a development standpoint, is you're probably going to be what I used to call the clay kings, those kids that were out there getting the uniforms dirty, having a passion, a love for the game. You're looking for those high school athletes to come in and want to be a part of that community for 3 or 4 years. Where are a lot of your recruiting, where is it taking place? Is it taking place at your camps? Are you going out to showcases? How are you attracting those student athletes from the Northeast or the Mid-Atlantic areas? Is this something where you kind of have a network that you're plugged into, and you're looking for those particular types of student athletes, or are you casting a wide net?
Yeah, we've had players from all over. You can almost say the world. We have a pitcher from Japan that's through a junior college. So there's a lot of different areas and different things that go on in that world. But again, I think at the end of the day, and I know there's so many avenues, right? Now some of the new things are there's recruiting coaches. I hate to use the word, it's not agent, but there's people that are, somewhat representing players and doing different things. And, I've been in this is my 17th season as a head coach. I've been in college baseball for 20 years. I've taken pride in my network and in networking ability to just have people that I know and I trust and I believe in that really help, because every year you only have X amount of needs. So, the Northeast is strong for us. And again, that's where I spent a majority of my life and my career. So those roots run deep, and I can get in on a kid a lot quicker that way through some of those relationships and doing some of the things that we need to do. So again, doing some of that. We kind of do everything, right? It's relationships. We definitely go to the big events and some showcase stuff but we got to really prioritize your time and your energy. And again, within our recruiting budget, there may be a kid in the state of, I don't know, Oregon or Wyoming that really wants to come to Gardner-Webb, but we just can't get to see one kid on the West Coast. You know what I mean? And we haven't been to the West Coast. So that's where sometimes all the video and different things come in that way to be able to recruit. We recruit. There's multiple types of players, right? There's the traditional high school player, right? There's now the decommitted high school player. There's the one that's been committed for a while and then decommits.
Yeah.
There's that high school player, right? There's the junior college player, right? That's the third type of player. There's now the 4-year transfer. There's someone that went somewhere else and wants to transfer. And then there's the grad transfer. That you know that are involved in recruiting, and we recruit all of them. I'm a true believer, like within our roster and recruiting, that if we recruited all straight high school players, I don't think we would be that good, to be honest. I think if we recruited all transfers, we wouldn't have as good a culture that we have. So we've got to break down. I think every year it's going to be somewhere between that 60-40 range high school, but it could be 55-45. But we're definitely going to have to. I mean, because that's just the way it is. I mean, we have some really good guys here now that are juniors through our first recruiting class that are really good college players, and then we've supplemented with some really good guys out of the portal that didn't quite get some opportunities, or for whatever reason that are making splashes for us on the field. So you got to adapt because, man, I'm telling you, like. I can remember 15 years ago, somewhere around I first kind of got into like some of this stuff, and everyone would start with like the whole like, I'm not going to showcases. I'm not doing this. Travel ball's stupid. You know what I mean? I'm not going to do social media. I'm not going to do that. Well, a lot of them guys aren't in the game anymore.
Right.
And, and 3-4 years ago when the portal got hot and started going and people were like, I'm not messing with the portal. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. Well, you slip. I mean, you got to kind of work and adapt with what's going on. And you know what I mean? Again, 25 years ago, a junior college player was one of two things, right? It was somebody that was a draft and follow, or it was considered a bad kid, which really, you know what I mean? That was just the stigma.
Right.
Now that's the farthest thing from the case. You know what I mean? As far as it goes. And, kids transfer now. Is it right, wrong, and different? I don't know. You know what I mean? I've coached a lot of great transfers, great kids, great makeup, great character, great players, whatever it may be. And, sometimes you don't make the right choice or it's the right fit because they made their decision too early in a lack of information. And maybe Gardner-Webb was the right fit for them their second time around going through the process. So, again, we do all of these avenues and all these things to recruit.
So talk a little bit about the fit. So, when you start to recognize, let's talk in particularly about the high school, sophomore or junior. What's the right fit? What type of student athlete is Gardner-Webb as a staff attracted to?
Yeah, so I mean, immediately, like the first thing we're going to look at is body type. And again, I'm not saying the kid has to walk out the dugout and be 6'3", 220, and busting out of a uniform. What I'm saying is we got to have a feel for the young man has a feel for the weight room and wants to work at it and wants to physically develop because it's a grueling season and one where you have a lot of grueling days and ups and downs, and you got to physically be able to withstand it. So I mean, the weight room is definitely a piece to it. There's got to be some type of spark plug to them. There's got to be like, got to give off energy. He's got to make the people around them better. Got to have that contagious energy. That's important when we watch somebody play. That we want that as far as it goes. Really looking for dugout demeanor. We want to try to get a gauge on what kind of teammate they are and going through and what they want to, how they handle themselves around their teammates. If they're not in the game, how are they carrying themselves? I mean, that stuff's extremely important. I'm interested in effort on routine plays at the plate. Like if someone hits into a routine ground ball, I mean, how hard's the 90? That's important. How they run first to third. Defensively, how do they run to their position in between innings? And I hope people watching here notice I haven't said 60 yet. I haven't said exit velo. I haven't said spin rate. I haven't said any of it.
Right.
Not that it's not important because what it does measure ability, and it's easy to read and see and do whatever. But some of the things that I'm mentioning are intangibles in regards to, these are championship level skills that help the team and the program, hopefully get to the level that, we want to get to.
Well, I think really, as I was listening to you, check marks are going off in my head because, physicality, energy, effort, attitude. These are things that are daily habits, and when I meet with parents and they're all consumed with these metrics and analytics and exit velocities and launch angles and ball strike percentages and things of that nature, at the end of the day, you're looking for the composite, the total makeup of a student athlete. And you could be 5'5", you can be 6'3". And there really is no, prerequisite size of an athlete. And so when you're looking at, let's say an undersized left fielder or right fielder, more importantly, it's ability, but it's all those other intangibles that you just spoke about, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. Like, I can't I describe exact, but like I'm looking for somebody that's going to make somebody else better.
Amen. Right.
And it's hard to like describe exactly what it is. You just got to be in the stands and watching the game and really know. Like, I mean, does this young man like just ooze with, confidence? You know what I mean? Not cockiness, like confidence.
Right.
And do they elevate the play of people around them? That's important to me. And that makeup's a huge, huge piece, and it'll trump the talent part of it. And, I'm sitting here and there's probably someone's going to watch this or see this that's known me for whatever many years. And, this isn't that long ago where I probably would have flipped the other end of it. When I was a Division III coach, I mean, I'd probably then taking the talent over the other piece of it. But you learn, you live and you learn, and you coach and you work with multiple youth, and you kind of figure out, the better teams that I've had, weren't always sometimes the most talented, or they all had the, like you said, best 60s or exit velos or whatever it may be, but they were a great group and they played well together and they were selfless, and those things are so important, so important.
Well, this gives you offer parents tremendous insight, and this was on my notes to ask you.
Mm-hmm.
When you're making that leap from high school to college, now you've been at the JUCO level, Division III, Division II, and now ultimately the Division I level. What's the separator? What's the biggest kind of misunderstood dynamic of that jump from high school athlete to college student athlete, particularly at the Division I level?
Well, I mean, I think it's kind of like twofold. So like, again, I explain this to everybody this way, like, especially when we walk out on our field, like, I try to explain, like, I mean, it's like the Hoosier scene, where they measure the basket, right? Like, yeah, I allude to it because, like, I go out there, I go, hey, listen, do you know what's the same everywhere? High school, Division III, II, I, minor leagues, independent leagues, big leagues. The bases are 90 feet. The mound's 60 feet, 6 inches. You know what I mean? It's all the same. The parks, for the most part, are in the same dimensional area in so many ways. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. I mean, if you're hitting the ball 380 plus feet at every one of those levels, most time you're probably putting a barrel on it, and it's going to be an extra base hit, a home run, or a long fly ball, right? I mean, so anyway, I go, the biggest thing is, in my opinion, for the Division I is the size, the physicality, right? And when I mean that, I mean like attention to detail, like within your body makeup and different things like that. In speed, I mean, the play is quicker, you know what I mean? Because the guy is faster and he gets down the line quicker, and the play, like the double plays quicker. And, and I say speed, I mean, and again, I've seen, listen, I was in 2 Division II leagues. They're as good as any in the country. I was in the PSAC in Pennsylvania for 3 years. I mean, I've multiple big leaguers. I mean, Chas McCormick, that was for the Astros. We played, managed against him for, I don't know, 6 or 8 games at least. And I can go down a list of guys, you know what I mean? They're in the big leagues from the PSAC and in Conference Carolinas. When I was at Barton, I mean, with Mount Olive, and you see what North Greenville's doing. I mean, you got to be kidding me. I mean, it's Division I baseball, most of those games. It is. The bullpens get that's a little different.
Right.
Especially when we start playing the Power Fives. I mean, you start some of that. I mean, I just, sometimes I put my head in my hands, you know what I mean? But again, separators. But the biggest, the thing with, you know what I mean, the transition overall, it's the same thing whether it's junior college D3, D2, D1, well, I don't care what it is. When you transition from high school to college, there's a few things here that, like, I mean, have become evident over the years that I think parents and players really need to listen to, like, that I think is really important. Is like, number one is, be ready to play a different position. Okay.
Oh,
Be,
amen.
be ready.
Right.
I mean, because it's not feasible. The more you can do as a high school player, the more, attractive you are for us is coaches. You know what I mean? Be ready to bunt. I couldn't tell you how many guys that we get in our program that can't bunt. Like they come in, they're like, "Well, coach, I never bunted." I said, "Well, you're gonna bunt now.
Amen.
Understand, how to bunt and how to work and how to execute and know what it means and do some of those things, as far as it goes. And the other thing too is be ready not to play. Okay. And embrace the opportunity to be a pinch runner, a defensive replacement. Maybe you're on the mound as a freshman and you're just going to be cleaning up 10 or down 10 games. And too much that there's just this expectation to come in and right away. It is so hard. It is so hard to be a freshman and compete and play right away. It's so hard. And I don't care what level it is. You're not going to beat Mother Nature. And especially now with 20 rounds in the draft, the COVID stuff, right? And the other piece to it too is, I mean, more kids are coming out of high school with more college credits. So the grad transfer and just, our right fielder is going to be 25 years old. He's a man. I mean,
Right.
he's an absolute man. There's just, and the 18-year-olds we have on our roster, I mean, they look like 12-year-olds next to him. And again, I tell them all the time, I go, "Do you see so and so?" And they'll go, "Yeah." I said, "You're gonna look. You need to figure out a way to look like him. That's when you get on the field, So, instead of laying around or doing whatever, I mean, the weight room and your nutrition and everything you got to do to take the next piece. But I think it's having the right expectation for when you're a freshman. Do you know what I mean? And what's important, as far as it goes, and just be ready to be humbled. The fall is hard. We make the fall so hard. I mean, I'm a big believer. I just, I tell our freshmen, listen, they come in the summer with us, our freshmen do, and I have lunch with them at least 3 or 4 times a week, and they're with our strength coach 5 days a week, and getting acclimated to a 3-credit class in the campus and all that. And it's all happy-go-lucky because it's just them 5 or 6 or whatever it is. And I sit down to them and I tell them all the time, I said, "Get ready." And I was like, "It's about to get really, really hard." I was like, "And trust me, I am going to break you down and then build you back up. You are going to be a different player, a different mindset, a different everything come November. And be ready. I love you, but be ready." Because, we're about to turn you from a boy into a man. And that's important. You know what I mean? Because there's too much feel good. There's too much feel good from 16 to 18. And baseball's not feel good. It's not feel good. Listen, I deal with it. I'm 43, 17th season. Like, we had a walk-off win last night, feeling great. But, a little over a week ago, we had a couple tough losses, and I was ready to, you know what I mean, hang it up and retire,
I,
So,
I remember those days. I mean, this is actually the type of insight and information that I think is so valuable because it's factual, it's real, and parents, but and student athletes need to hear this because, for instance, if you take one look at Gardner-Webb's schedule and you see the in conference of the Big South, the Radfords, the High Points, the Campbells, the UNC Asheville's, and then you look and say, "Oh, by the way, we're playing North Carolina. Oh, by the way, we're playing Duke." This is a big boy.
Don't remind me of that.
This is a big boy world. And when Coach Chester says too much feel good, it resonates with me because you look on social media, we see all these beautiful videos and home run trots and bat flips and, and then you get to college. Oh, I played high level travel. College baseball is hard. And I just want you to talk about those midweek games being as important for you as a staff as your weekend conference games.
They are. I was going to share one more piece about the
Sure, absolutely.
but it's like, and I think that this is great. And it's like, listen, baseball is a lot like life, right? There's a lot of similarities. Life's hard, right? For everybody, life's hard. There's a lot of, we go through all kinds of ups, downs, adversities, all kinds of different things. And like, you know what I mean? And I know for me personally, if I didn't have the good Lord by my side, I wouldn't be able to get through every day like everybody else. And, even though I do what I love for a living, there's still a lot of things going on, but I still wake up every morning ready to compete. It's about competition, and you got to be able to compete. And that's the biggest thing too, that sometimes I see missing part is the having that edge to compete, like being ready every single day to compete, and just wanting to be the best that you can be every single day, and having that intestinal fortitude to get up and compete. And like, I think that's a measurable too, that like, the TrackMan can't tell me, or Yacker Tech, or some of those things that do give great information. But, what's in here, and how do you compete? Like, and that's, I think that's a shocker too, for the freshmen coming in, like, hey, you just came from a situation in your travel program in your high school where you were the man, and you kind of had a position and do whatever, and maybe didn't have to fight for it. And I mean, I see more freshmen starting in high school now than I've ever seen in my life. It's unbelievable. I remember I made the varsity as a freshman, and I didn't play, but it's like the biggest thing in the world. Nowadays, it's not a thing, but you got to compete. Like, every day you got to compete. But anyway, I wanted to share that too. Like, I mean, it gets me fired up even talking about competing, because I love it. I mean, more than anything.
Well, I agree. I mean, it used to be back in my day when dinosaurs roamed the earth. We didn't have freshmen in high school. It was sophomore through senior. And if you were a sophomore and you were on the varsity, you were a dude. And in today's world, the expectation is, my son played travel ball for Team Superpower, and there's no way he's going to play freshman baseball, let alone JV. You better be, I paid a lot of money. It doesn't work that way in college. You're earning an opportunity to get between the lines from day one. It is not a promise. It is a privilege.
And no doubt. But to answer your question, sorry, it took a little longer on that other piece, but the midweeks are huge for us, and the out of conference and a lot of things. Because again, when we recruit, I mean, we tell our young men, like, we're going to play a great schedule. And I mean, listen, if you ever know, I'm sure not many people that are listening to this or watching this have been to Boiling Springs, North Carolina, but don't blink, because you'll miss it going through. And but if you drew a big red circle on a map, okay, of a 3-hour driving distance, all right, of our campus, that there's some healthy programs. I mean, I start naming a few, and you start the university. Knoxville's 3 hours from us. The University of Tennessee, Columbia, South Carolina. Okay, the University of South Carolina, right? NC State, North Carolina, Chapel Hill, right? Duke. I just can start going down the list. You know what I mean? And it's like, holy heck, you know what I mean? You got to watch out what's going on. So, we challenge. I mean, we tell our young men, like, we recruit, like, we're going to play these teams. I mean, and listen, we had some great experiences early this year. I mean, we got Northwestern and Michigan State came down and played us at home this year, and we were able to get 2 wins against them, which were great. And we've had some close calls with Georgia and some other schools and playing some of these different things. But it's baseball, so anything can happen. It's baseball, and midweek baseball can be some crazy stuff. There ain't no doubt about it. But they're really important. Our goal is to get an at-large. Is to win the Big South. But if we don't put ourselves in position to get an at-large bid to the NCAA tournament, and to do that, we've got to schedule the great teams. And not only do we got to schedule them, we got to beat them. I use this example. It's like tough, and I hope our football program's up and coming. Our coach Trey Lamb's killing it. Like, they're doing a great job. But we lost to Georgia by a run 2 years ago. Unfortunately, I think in football, if we played Georgia, it wouldn't be a 1-point game.
Right.
What I'm saying is the game of baseball allows us to have that fun and pull those upsets and do those type of things. So it's it's definitely feasible, and they're really, really important for us. They're important, and they're a lot of fun. They're a lot of fun. And some of our guys have a chip on their shoulder. And it's not like any saying those schools passed them up, but like, you know, yeah, I get it. Every kid that gets out of bed in the morning, you know what I mean? I was the same way when I grew up in Pittsburgh. I got out of bed. I wanted to play at Pitt. You know what I mean? I played at Teal, small D3 in Pennsylvania. Very proud of it. 4 years, D3. I'm proud of the player I was and the journey I had. It plays a part in who I am today. I loved it, but I didn't get out of bed going, man, I want to be a Teal Tomcat. You know, young men get out of bed. They want to go to North Carolina. They want to go to, want to go to these places. But then we hope we get them here and they really fall in love with Gardner-Webb, the program, and they're a running bulldog. And now they want to beat those schools.
Exactly. Now, on that note, when it comes to recruiting, do you feel strongly about hearing directly from the student athlete? Do you want to hear from the parents? How does that work for you and your staff?
So for me personally, I love the interaction with the student athlete. It is a huge, huge, huge plus for me when they start doing certain things. And this sounds silly, like when they fill out the application, when they do the communication with me, when they ask the right questions. Now, again, when I was 18, I wasn't probably equipped. You're not equipped to handle every little thing. But I think it's really important that they handle a majority of it. Now, on the visit, okay, I mean, I make it fully clear, like, you know what I mean? Like, I want to meet the parents. I want to know mom. I want to know dad. I want to know grandparents if they're highly involved. I want to know everybody, brothers and sisters. I mean, I want there to be a relationship here. But part of my job, obviously it's to win baseball games, right? At the end of the day, that's what this is. I'm evaluated by our record. But I'm also, it's important to me to develop these young men off the field and help them grow into men. And I want them to be able to walk off our campus and leave our program and be ready to be, a very highly functional, person in society. And that's being a father, that's being a husband, that's being a member in their community, a coach, and well-respected in their profession. Those things are important to me. And a lot of guys don't understand that while they're going through the process. But I think as they, the best compliments for coaches are when the guys are out for 5 or 6 years. You know what I mean? And, I share a quick small story, but like, I'm really, I feel like I'm pretty organized. Guys always tell me like I'm too organized, calendars and everything, right? But I had a player of mine from about 7 years ago invited me to his wedding this past summer. And I couldn't make it for a prior commitment. So I called him a few days before the wedding and I was wishing him congratulations. And I remembered his wife from the college we were working in and everything I was working at. And he said to me, he goes, my wife gave you a huge compliment about 6 months ago. And I said, what do you mean? And he goes, she was so excited about how organized I was for this wedding and how I prepared and all that. And she said, Coach Chester must have really rubbed off on you. You know what I mean? An impact. So I don't know. I find that funny, but also too, those are things that I'm trying to integrate into our young men, you know what I mean, on a daily basis.
I think that is extremely powerful. I have athletes that I coached in college that are now in their mid 30s and they have children of their own and they have stories about their time on whether it was on a bus or a doubleheader or a Florida trip. And I think it's really powerful. It's not just baseball, it's life. And that's what coaches, the purpose of coaches, at least in my opinion, as far as I'm concerned. And, people that I talk to when I talk about, I let a few people know that you and I were going to be talking today. They have nothing but glowing, positive comments about the energy in your programs that you've coached and the path that you've taken. And it's clear to see, by today's conversation that if I'm a parent and I have a high school student athlete, I'm definitely adding Gardner-Webb to the list of potential schools. Do you interact with these students or families on social media at all? Or are you more of a phone guy, or how do you handle that?
So I'm like a guy, do it all. You know what I mean? You got to kind of adapt to the person. I mean, hopefully maybe you can tell from our conversation. I mean, I feel like I'm very approachable.
Yes.
I feel like I love networking. I love relationships. I love conversation. You got to text, right? It's a piece to it, but it's not like, you know what I mean? I can't just always text. I mean, I got it. Like, so the thing I always tell the players and I tell like the parents and everything goes like, I've got 2 young children. I got a beautiful wife that's very supportive of my career. And with that though, like, you know what I mean? I see these guys in our staff more than I see my family this time of year, hands down. So like, it's important to me that I've got a friendship and a, you know what I mean? All those type of
Yep,
things.
absolutely.
Speaking of kids, my 5-year-old son's here in the background banging something. If you can hear that.
No, that's okay because I love kids, so that's not a big deal. We're wrapping up anyway. I wanted to first say thank you, Jim, because this has really been a pleasure. Love the energy, love the thoughts, the whole energy that you bring is clear, and it definitely shows in the over the last few years. Gardner-Webb's kind of resurgence, or what's the best word? Moving forward. The program is definitely moving forward. So I am one that will always stay in touch, especially with regard to student athletes from around the country, Louisiana, Texas, Mississippi, New England.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I'll definitely be putting them on your radar from this point forward. But thank you so much for your time today, Jim.
Yeah, no problem. And I ask anyone watching, please follow me on Instagram, Coach Jay Chester. Follow me on Twitter, Coach Jay Chester. I'm on Facebook, Jim Chester. You can find, like, I'm all about, like I said, showcasing. I try to do it in the right way. I mean, all of our stuff about our facilities and our program are all over social media. So please follow me or follow our team's accounts.
Well, this week, down below in today's session, in the comments section, I'm going to make sure I have Coach Chester's, all of his social media contacts, his email at the school. I'll put some links in there as far as the new facility, some links from the school, so that you'll be able to, after watching the video, be able to just click on those links and interact with Coach Chester in any capacity that you choose. I want to make sure that parents and student athletes understand, certain recruiting guidelines. Obviously, there are only certain level athletes that Coach and his staff can respond to. So recognize that if you're an 8th grader or a freshman or so forth. But by all means, I'll put all that social media contact information there. Jim, best of luck in tournament play, in conference play that's coming up. And look forward to getting to know you a lot more over the next few years. And good luck the rest of the way.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me on. It was a blast.
Thank you, Jim.